So it's not night 2 for this Bordeaux. It is night 2 for the Carl Lawrence. I'm having the steak. I'm having both of the wines. They both are awesome. Awesome in their own ways as a pairing to this prime New York strip. Not dry aged, not Wagyu, nothing like that. Just over charcoal, medium rare, just awesome. Just salt, pepper, basic preparation, and with the wines, just amazing. And what's worth mentioning is, this is typical of, I believe, France and Italy foremost. Of course, every other wine that needs to breathe, but something specific about French and Italian wine, especially Bordeaux. Bordeaux just, maybe they're making it more reductive than I know. And then it hits oxygen, hits it, and it just turns into a different experience. Even just within the last 30 minutes, it's turned into a different tasting experience. And I could sniff this wine all night long. And it's awesome. It's unbelievable with all those flavors. This is a great wine. I didn't even know that they were making slightly predominant Merlot in the left bank. That's really a right bank thing, where it's Merlot and or Cab Franc dominated. Typically Merlot dominated, with Cab Franc being the secondary, and rarely will they put Cab Sauv in there, maybe a little bit. Left bank being mostly Cab Sauv, and they blend it with the Merlot, Cab Franc. Petit Verdot and riper vintages I see. Malbec very rarely, Carmenere like never. So this wine's just getting better and better and better, this Bordeaux. I think as you expose Bordeaux, or as you decant, and I guess this is more of a video about decanting, just decant. You don't need anything special. I bought these very inexpensive decanters. I have slightly more expensive decanters, but none of my decanters are extremely expensive. But God, do they make these wines taste better and just show better. I think if you have an older wine, you don't want to over decant it. If you decant it, it should be decanted for a very short amount of time and then quickly poured and drank. They've already got all that age on them. But when you have a young wine, it's a 2016. I know that's 2022 almost, but it's still very young for Bordeaux. 2018, a baby in Napa, baby. So again, just the more you expose these to oxygen, and I used to drink wines over, I used to think, like, if I don't drink it tonight, and I drink it tomorrow, that if I don't drink it tomorrow, forget it. Now I'll let a wine go a third night, just because I've seen the evolution of it. Use a slightly better enclosure, not just sticking the cork back in, but just a different enclosure. I use the champagne enclosures. They're fine. And yeah, there's still oxygen trapped in there, touching a little of the wine, but only, the surface area is probably this, circle, if you combine my hand with my other side. So a small area is exposed to that amount, but it could go longer. Wouldn't go more than 3 nights on most reds. There's probably some that could go a fourth, but 3. A white one in the refrigerator, I had one go for a week just by accident. Again, I don't typically do that. I don't want my wine to turn to vinegar or start turning to vinegar. I want it to be good, but also expressive. This wine needed to be decanted, I believe, for 2 hours, this Bordeaux, before I even touched it. And I poured a little bit more, and I'm going to go to it later. The Carl Lawrence is ready to go. It's as good as it's going to show itself as the 2018. It's just young. It's going to do a lot more in 5 years from now. I don't know what it'll do in 10. A lot of times people ask, like, hey, well, how do you know how long a wine will go? It's a guess. It's a guess based on acid and tannin. And the more acid and tannin a wine has, technically the longer it can go. Or historically, they just know, like, Hermitage, Bordeaux, Napa, like, they can age longer. Even some whites absolutely can age, but not all of them. You don't really want to age a $10, $15 Pinot Grigio out of Italy. You want to drink that young and fresh, and make sure you're not buying a cheap version of it. Chardonnay out of Burgundy, absolutely. You can age it and want to age it. Chenin Blanc out of Sauvignon, Chenin Blanc out of Vouvray. You can absolutely age those. Riesling, German Rieslings, Alsatian Rieslings. You could absolutely age those. They will take on a very different taste profile. Red wine will lose its tannin, but its acid will get higher. That's what I feel I've seen in red wine. I like tannin, so I don't want to lose too much. And I don't want my wine to feel so acidic. It's not bad. It's just this. I feel like the acidity changes, or the acidity is left because the tannin's gone. So the wine drinks very easy, very smooth, and very tertiary. Those big, ripe, unctuous fruit flavors are gone. What's left is a lot of the tertiary flavors. Leather and saddle, some type of cigar box, things like that. I get that up front too, but you'll get it even more so on an aged Bordeaux, a 10-year-old Bordeaux. I've had plenty of 10-year-old Bordeaux's, fantastic. I've had 2005s in the last few years, and they were unbelievable. They even still had a youthfulness to them as an 05. So 16 years later, and they were bottled, not in 05, probably in 07, but still unbelievable. I mean, 2005 was an amazing vintage out of Bordeaux. Amazing. I bought at least 3 or 4 cases worth, if not 5 cases worth, of 5 Bordeaux over the years, because it was just an amazing vintage. At the time, heralded as one of the best ever. And this seems to happen a lot now. How many vintages of the century can you have? But anyway, I'm doing this because it's about decanting. It's about that these wines can be drank now, but you just need to decant them, and they will show you more. There's definitely something to it. I think some people, I don't know about the aeration. People ask me about, if I aerate a wine, will that work? I guess so, but I just like to decant, be patient. I prepare. I'm gonna have a dinner at 7 o'clock. I go downstairs at 5 and open up a wine and decant half of it, and then cork the other half with my stopper and have it the next day, or open it up later if I'm gonna have a little bit more, another glass or something. So this is part 2 for tonight. I normally don't do that. I've done it a few times. Love Bordeaux, love Napa. 2 of my favorite regions for sure. So, very different, but both fantastically made wines. That's why we do this, the exploration. I feel like this, I wonder what the alcohol is on this thing. 14.5. So definitely a bigger, I'm not sure if I get the 16 and 15s mixed up in Bordeaux. Left and right bank, one of them had a great 16 and a 15, and I keep getting them mixed up. I'm starting to get there's so many great vintages that it's becoming very difficult to know what's what. I keep a Wine Spectator cheat sheet on my wallet, but I need to get the newer one. And I've said it before, the scores per wine, it's fine, but these tasters are tasting like 100 of wines in a few hours, and they're just tasting quick. It's not to say that they don't know what they're doing. Of course they know what they're doing. They're experts, but I do believe more in the vintage ratings than I do in a singular bottles ratings. Plus, you need to find the rater, the person that's rating the wine that more aligns with your palate and your likes. So, Robert Parker, granted he's in his 70s, I don't think he's doing much anymore, but his organization. But when Robert Parker was rating wines, what he liked was bigger unctuous wines, a little oaky, a little extracted. That's to say he didn't like Pinot Noirs and others. Of course he probably did. But he sort of did change the game when it came to rating wines. And this isn't about a Parker and the 100-point scale or anything. It's just take scores with a grain of salt. Follow your own palate. Explore new wines. Don't just buy the same thing over and over. If you have a store you go to, just ask the purveyor of the store. At least if you trust them, right? If they're just somebody that's just trying to sell you on the latest thing they got in a corner because they're getting an extra few bucks on every case, yeah, that's not the best place. But find a store that gives a little bit more effort into their wine. and wants to recommend something, you talk to them. No different than having a sommelier at a dinner. You go to a dinner, talk to the sommelier, see what they know, see what they could recommend. I'm always trying to try something new in most cases. So, 10-minute update. I think this was longer than the original video that I did earlier, but that's it. I'm going to finish the steak, have some wine, have some cheese, and we'll do another update possibly tomorrow on this Bordeaux, because absolutely the Carl Lawrence will be gone. But this Bordeaux, and we'll see if we pair it with anything or just have it on its own and see what tomorrow brings. That's it.